right, this is John Colo with growingyourgreens.com to do another exciting episode for you. Today I'm in St. Petersburg, Florida, outside Tampa and Clearwater. And the reason why I'm here today is to show you guys an amazing farm. And the owner of the farm, Eric Law, does not own any of the land he farms on, right? He has agreements with the landlords for basically unused space that they would normally just have nothing on. He uses their space to grow food to create his farm. He basically has a total of 3 different properties that he goes around and farms on for a total of literally only a quarter of an acre. I mean, this guy is having a farm, feeds many families around the city with just 1/4 acre. This is one of his 2 properties, and later on in the episode, we'll visit another one where we will show you guys actually his plant nursery as well as more of his urban farm. So actually, let's head inside the gate here and learn more about the Greens and Things urban farm. So you guys can see I'm sitting here in the farm and basically just doing a row crop farm like a market gardener would, AKA Curtis Stone. If you haven't seen the episode I filmed with Curtis Stone on how to basically grow people on other people's property, which was a big inspiration for Eric. Links down below to my 2 episodes with Curtis, one at his place actually in Canada. Nonetheless, basically he's doing the row crop market garden. He has the fabric cloth that he basically burned the holes through so he doesn't have the weed pressures, coming up with the plants. And then basically he has lots of plants planted. Like, I think both these are probably cut and come again for salad greens. He has like radishes, turnips, looks like some carrots, Swiss chard, spinach, as well as other greens that are being grown seasonally here in St. Pete, Florida. I think I want to take you guys around to some of the vegetables that I like a lot on the little tour of his farm here. All right, guys, so the first thing I want to say is that this is literally industrial land, and he could have paid tons of money to get the soil tested and all these things, and he didn't want to deal with any of that. So he didn't want to grow directly in the soil that is pre-existing, because there was a building here a long time ago that's no longer here. So what he did instead was he brought in copious amounts of mulch, I think after one of the hurricanes, and he basically piled up mulch like over a foot tall on this very property. So he had over a foot of mulch, and then on top of the mulch, he basically built one giant raised bed. So this is one of the corners, and basically put a liner down so he's not growing directly into the soil. He then brought in the compost, and then he's growing on top of the compost all the crops. You can see he has an irrigation system, a drip irrigation system in here with the drip tape that looks like it comes out every 6 inches to grow things like the snap peas, lettuce, onions, and all your common garden crops that you would expect to find at the grocery store. So yeah, let's go around to some of my favorite crops that he's growing, and I'll show you guys why you should grow them too. All right, guys, so most people, when they buy lettuce at the store, they basically just buy the green lettuce, and that's probably the most common lettuce that is grown, but I encourage you guys strongly to grow things like the red lettuces. Instead of growing the green romaine, he's got like a red romaine lettuce growing, and look at these nice deep red leaves. Like, virtually they're identical except for the color. But what if I told you this red lettuce is at least 10% more nutritious than the green lettuce? And we're going to taste test his green lettuce. Tastes like lettuce should. Let's go ahead and taste the red. I mean, basically there's no discernible taste difference on the lettuces, but when you eat the red ones, you're getting 10 times more nutrition. When you go to the grocery store, right, you are dictated to buying standard romaine that's green. It's very rare and very uncommon. They would even sell red lettuces, but then if you guys are supporting a local farm like Eric here, or growing your own, grow the red lettuces. Also too, because they don't sell the red lettuce at the store, now you are not competing against the store. When you are growing, you're competing against other people that have red lettuce, for those of the people like me in the know that wants more nutritious food. Also, as a farmer, You know, if you're setting up your stand at your farmer's market, let people know the data, the science on the red lettuce. A lot of people that love to eat local food are doing it for their health. And to let them know that, hey, my red lettuce is 10 times more nutritious than the green because it contains the anthocyanin pigments, right? That gives the people motivation to buy from you instead of your competitor that doesn't have the red lettuce, right? Because a lot of people don't know the facts that I do about different produce items and how nutritious they can be, because I've looked up all the science. And if you guys want to learn more about why the majority of my greens in the wintertime, or, you know, when I grow, I try to strive to have the purple vegetables, link down below my video, why every gardener should grow purple vegetables. All right, guys, so in this row, basically, he has things interplanted, especially when you guys don't have a lot of room, like literally has less than a quarter acre to grow as much food as he can. He wants to utilize his space as effectively as possible. So he does what's called companion planting. So you can see here we have strawberries. Florida is famous for its strawberries, especially this time of year. They're coming out of Plant City. I had some Plant City grown strawberries this trip. They were amazing, not too far down the road. But he is also growing the strawberries here using organic practices. So you guys can see, here's a nice red strawberry. We're gonna try it on the camera. Sweet and delicious. For those of you guys that never grew your own strawberries, nothing better than a fresh picked strawberry that's truly ripe. When you guys buy them at the store, they pick them unripe to sell you, otherwise they're gonna spoil by the time you get them. Now the thing I wanted to point out is that he is not just growing the strawberries. When the strawberries are young, they just started producing literally last week. He's also growing the onions right next to them, right? This can serve a few purposes. Number one, right, the onions will have a smell and it may, you know, get some of the bugs and pests away from the strawberries because they smell the strong scent of onions. Number two, besides just the strawberries, he also now has an onion crop he can harvest and provide to his CSA members. So another way Eric can use his space widely is by growing long-term crops, right? If you grow a head of lettuce, people expect to buy a head of lettuce. And when you cut a head of lettuce down, it stops producing and then you have to replant more lettuce to get more lettuce later. Meanwhile, at my house, I plant both these, which are actually more heat tolerant, and I can harvest them even through the summer, right? So the Swiss chard, as well as the dinosaur kale, you just come to the plant and you harvest the bottom-most leaves. And then you harvest the bottom-most leaves and then make a bunch of them. Meanwhile, the plant is still growing. It's gonna make more leaves every single week so that you come and then pick one leaf off the bottom of the plant and more leaves will eventually grow. So, you know, over here, it looks like he's definitely selling a lot more Swiss chard than the dinosaur kale, because these guys look picked back a lot. But yeah, Swiss chard, dinosaur kale, some crops that you can continue to grow throughout the whole season and just pick leaves as you need them. All right, guys, so another concept that I want you to do that obviously Eric is doing, and you know, when I see this, it looks so amazing. I mean, but unfortunately, all his CSA customers or the people that buy his produce is never gonna see this, but he does. I mean, this looks really cool to me. Like, I really love the use of colors in your garden and doing like layouts so it looks pretty. You know, the prettiest part of his whole garden are these rows right here to me, because check it out, man. He has basically this different kinds of like butter lettuces, like all in a row, the same green, then he has like the red, then he has like a standard green, and then he has like the reddish green ones. And then over on this side, instead of the rows going the long way, he planted the rows on the diagonal. So he's got different kinds of lettuces mixed in from going from, you know, the red, green, red, red, green, red, red, green, red, all the way down. I think that looks so pretty. So, you know, that's what I try to do also when I plant my garden out. I try to do like, you know, some kind of symmetrical spacing or planting so that when I grow them, they're gonna look pretty, you know, before I even get to harvest them. And, you know, I think these guys, he's probably harvesting the whole heads versus cutting for salad mix, because they are getting a bit larger and they look really beautiful and nice. And the another thing that's very important is that the lettuce he harvests is sold or given to the CSA members within 24 hours. So they haven't been sitting in a cooler, you know, for several weeks or even a month, like the greens that you would buy at your local grocery store. You know, these are the freshest, naturally grown with organic practices that you could find around St. Pete. All right, guys, so another crop that I'm surprised to see him grow are cabbages, and actually they are performing quite well. He's growing the green and the red style cabbages, but these ones are heading up really nice. You guys can see some of these guys are getting super huge. And, you know, I want to remind you guys, most people, when they grow cabbage, they just want the little round head, right? And while that's great, and while it can store for a long time, another part of the cabbage you can't eat are, of course, the nice outer large leaves. These are completely edible and delicious. And what do they look like? They kind of look like collard greens. So you can just use these like collard greens, slice them up, put them into salads. These are excellent for juicing. Saute them, cook them. Yeah, I want you guys to eat your cabbage leaves. Now, cabbages are in the brassica family of plants related to things like cauliflower, broccoli, kale, arugula, bok choy that he also is growing. These are all contain the isothiocyanates, and they are anti-cancer and good and healthy for phase 2 liver detoxification. So I want you guys to eat some brassica plants every single day. So around the row crops that he's growing around the edges, he also is growing the papaya, the trees along the edges. And of course, if you guys have a fence like the hurricane fence behind me, use it as a trellis. And of course, in this climate zone, it's the best thing to grow up a hurricane fence, in my opinion, are the passion fruits. Even if you're in LA, right, passion fruit is gonna grow great. It's just gonna vine up, take over the fence, create a privacy screen, but also provide lots of passion fruit. If you guys priced out passion fruit lately, it sells for, well, I think this morning I saw anywhere from $4 to like $8 a pound. But you guys can see, this is super productive. Lots of passion fruits on the vine he can harvest. But even better than harvesting them from the vine is wait until they drop in the ground, because that is when they're truly ripe. I could probably show you guys more at this amazing garden space, but what I want to do next is take you guys to his next property, where actually he's even growing more vegetables, but more importantly, growing the plant starts for his farm properties and even making them available to you. All right, guys, so now we're about less than a half mile away from the plot you guys just saw. This is the second out of 3 locations for the Greens and Things Urban Farm and Nursery here in St. Petersburg, Florida. So we're gonna head back and show you guys what they got growing on. And here's the thing, we are here on a Saturday. On Saturdays between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m., they actually have their farm stand. He formerly used to be at the local farmer's market, but based at the local farmer's market, they basically allow people that resell things, right? They just buy things from California and then sell lettuce like it's local, but it's really from California, right? So there are some issues, and nonetheless, now he has his own thing, setting up a farm stand based on what's in season, and he picked, you know, the day before, a couple days before, right? And aside from the farm stand, he also does a CSA that we've saw many people come while I was been here, picking up their share. So really that's the best way to get food from the farm, where he basically, he'll give things to the people on the CSA program that he won't have at the farm stand because he runs out, right? So let's see what he has at his farm stand today. So to remind you guys, we are here in January, and in January here in St. Petersburg, we have lots of papayas right off the trees behind us, fresh papayas. He also has the passion fruits. He has the yellow and the purple passion fruits. He also has cabbage, red and green cabbage. He has the Jamaica. You can make tea out of that. He also has things like the Swiss chard and collard greens. He's got the radishes. He'll also grow turnips. He has standard head lettuces, as well as bok choy. He has bags of gourmet greens mix, as well as lettuce mix. He also has some of my favorite lettuces, which are the purple lettuces. So these nice little butter tender lettuces he grows. He has spinach, arugula, as well as Asian lettuce, tomatoes, like more heirloom style, eggplants, cherry tomatoes, and then he has basically freeze-dried fruits. Like he has like pineapple, mango, and actually jackfruit available at this time on the farm stand. Every week it changes because once again, whatever's in season he's harvesting is available at the farm stand. But better than the farm stand is being a CSA member, and then the CSA members could come here to pick up their CSA basically box. So let me show you guys where that's at. All right guys, so he has basically the commercial refrigerator that he basically harvests and picks all the CSA members portions first. So if you want to be guaranteed the best food that Eric grows here, you want to become a CSA member, and he actually has it labeled, you know, for which CSA member, and basically it's self-serve. You come here, open up the cooler, and then you grab your bag. And wow, there's actually 2 bags in here. And I mean, I'm not gonna go in there to show you all the produce because it's actually somebody's CSA share, but those bags are actually quite full. So that's the best way to get the produce here from Greens and Things, Urban Farm, and Nursery. Next up, I wanna go over to the field at this farm, show you guys what they're growing and how they're doing it. All right guys, so basically here he's growing in row crops. And behind me, you guys can see the row crops that we'll take a look at close up. But the other thing that's really cool is around the border, he has things like the papaya as well as the bananas that are in production. Some of the papayas you saw actually for sale may have came off this very papaya plant, which technically is not a tree, it's herbaceous plant because it doesn't have real wood. That's why they're fast growers and fast fruiters. Next up, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the greens he has in season right now. So basically, Eric is a market gardener, so he's growing to sell at the market. So he does a lot of cut and come again crops that you could just literally just cut, and then basically they regrow. And this is what he uses to make his little baby mixes, like the Asian mix. This is the Asian mix. He also has the lettuce mix. He has like Mizuna, you know, pak choy, bok choy, red and green, different things mixed in that basically will come and clip this back and then bag it up, and then he'll let it regrow. He's using the fabric cloth here with the holes in it. He also has the mulch on the soil so that he doesn't have to spray things like Roundup, right? And then next up, let's take a look at what he's got behind me. And on this side, he's basically growing a lot of cauliflower. So look at this nice large head of cauliflower, guys. He didn't have any cauliflower at the farm stand today, but his CSA members did get heads of locally grown cauliflower right here. So that's a really good reason to join the CSA, because once again, if he doesn't have enough, you know, CSA members get first crack, first dibs. I think this is a really good thing to do. And over on this side, he basically has like the broccolini, which is a sprouting broccoli. So basically he always cuts the side shoots, and then he basically gets the side shoots. I mean, the other very useful use of these crops is, besides just the flower, the cauliflower, or the broccoli, which is also the immature flower, are the leaves. So I want to encourage you guys, because a lot of people don't know this, is that all these leaves, what do these leaves look like? To me, they just look like collard greens, maybe a little bit different shape. But all these leaves can be eaten like collards or kale. You know, whether you want to juice them when they get nice and large like this, I would actually juice them up. You could pick the baby leaves. The small leaves are great in salads. You can cook them. So many things. You can dehydrate them into, you know, collard green or broccoli green chips, freeze dry them, another amazing use. But yeah, he has lots of broccoli and cauliflower. But if you're gonna harvest the leaves, don't pick too many, because if you harvest too many leaves, then you won't get that nice unopened flower that everybody is always after when they're growing the cauliflower or broccoli. So then you'd wanna just basically pick off the bottom large leaves before they turn yellow, because when they turn yellow, they're basically compost at that point. But if you harvest the leaves on the bottom that are gonna turn yellow anyways and eat them, then you're gonna have an additional source of food. All right, guys, so one thing about Eric is that here on the farm, he basically starts all his vegetable plants from seed himself, which is a lot of work. So you guys can see he has lots of different, basically, vegetable plant starts for his succession planting that he'll be doing. He's always doing production. And once he got this nursery space, he's like, hey, well, I should just grow 20% more, 30% more of what I'm already growing to plant out in my farm, because these are the varieties that he has grown tried and true over the years, and he knows that they are going to perform well here in St. Pete, right? If you go to a nursery, especially like a big box like Home Depot, they're just bringing in random Bonnie plants, maybe be even grown in Georgia, that then they're selling here in Florida, and they are expected to do well, but then they may not do well. So if you had bad luck growing vegetables that you bought at a big box store, Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot, right? It's because those vegetables are not designed or do well for this climate, right? All the vegetables you're gonna see in his nursery are vetted and do great here in St. Pete, because this is what he grows himself, and he wouldn't be growing vegetables that are not performing well. So while he does have all the smaller ones, we'll show you guys some bigger ones if you guys want bigger plants. The cool thing when you buy the small ones from him, you could actually make your own 6-pack. You know, a lot of places, they force you to buy 6 of lettuce, 6 of tomatoes, 6 of this when you buy a 6-pack. But here, he'll let you basically make your own 6-pack, which is really cool. You can select one of those, one of these, so you could have a selection. So let me show you guys how that works. All right, guys, so he starts everything in these flats. And while you could buy plant starts by the flat, if you're planting a lot, most people aren't gonna do that for a home garden. So all you do is you could basically just take a little 6-pack, and then you're just gonna come to the plant and then pop it up, and then once it comes out, you basically take it and then you put it in one of the cells, right? And then you could pick 6 more of this kind or any kind he has to make your own 6-pack. So today, of course, my favorites, and I always encourage you guys to grow the purple varieties of plants. So I'm actually just picking the purple leaves. So we got, I think, some tatsoi and purple Mizuna or Ms. America, which are some of my favorites that I actually grow myself. And I'm gonna take these home myself actually and grow these in Las Vegas. So started in Tampa, and these will be grown in Vegas. I already actually have some of these growing already in Vegas, but now I get to take a few more from my travel. So I really love that you could actually just make your own 6-packs here. All right, guys, so besides just the 6-packs, if you have more time than money, then the 6-packs are what you should buy. That being said, always when you buy larger plants, you have a higher probability of success. So I always encourage you guys to get larger plants if you can't afford them, because a larger plant is more developed, and the larger plants are like raising a teenager versus raising a baby. Raising a teenager is a lot easier than raising a baby. That's why I normally like to buy plants as large as possible. But yeah, he has some amazing looking, this is some mamba kale right here, some kind of dinosaur kale. He's got different kinds of basil growing right here. He's got cauliflower, collard greens, nasturtiums, like cilantro. He's got peppers, tomatoes, like eggplants. He's got basically any vegetable you want. And the cool thing about Eric is if you come and buy these nursery plants, right, he's gonna sell them to you at the right time of year. Some nurseries basically sell you plants whenever, but you know, if there's plants in his nursery, these are the ones that he's growing out in his field, so you absolutely know you're gonna be successful. All right, guys, so unlike most nurseries around Florida that would actually sell you guys fruit trees, right, he has the vegetable starts. He starts on site. A lot of his fruit trees are actually brought in, but he does do some propagation on certain varieties of the fruit trees. But he also has fruit trees available for you, a lot of different cool, unique varieties, because I talked about a whole bunch, and he's like a guy like me. He really likes the weird and different ones, you know, that are really neat. He'll also have actually fruit tastings here at the farm during the summertime when, you know, the fruits are in season. So he has things like mangoes, avocados, of course, bananas, papayas. He has all different kinds of fruit trees. You know, of course, when you buy a fruit tree, the smaller the pot, the less expensive it'll be. But the larger the pot, you know, the sooner it'll give you fruit, and maybe even give you fruit when you take it home. So I'm gonna show you guys one fruit tree that he has right now that is currently fruiting that you could buy if you really wanted it. With an amazing fruit that is actually one of my favorites. All right, guys, so here's a Sapote or Chico Sapote or Sapote tree in literally a 15-gallon pot, guys. So for those of you guys that think you can't grow a fruit tree because you can't plant anything in the ground, if you have a large enough pot, a lot of fruit trees can produce in a pot. So you guys can see this fruit tree here has a bunch of fruit on it already. I'm counting maybe like a half dozen fruit on this tree right now, sitting in a 15-gallon. This is actually the Philippine cultivar of the Chico Sapote. These ones are not quite ripe yet, but I happen to have a ripe one that I want to taste test for you guys on the camera from the local farmer's market. All right, guys, so let's open this up. So basically, to open one of these, I basically just like to squeeze it carefully. And then basically it'll break open, and look at that. This is called the brown sugar fruit, because it's basically, it looks like brown sugar, and then when you eat it, it basically has like the consistency of a pear. You know how pear has like the little crystals or little fiber crystals in there? And so we're just gonna basically take out a segment of this Chico Sapote fruit to try it for you guys on camera. Wow. This is definitely one of my all-time favorite fruits. You got to get to Florida to try it. It's absolutely delicious. Tastes like, I mean, to me it tastes like brown sugar. Maybe not super sweet like you're eating sugar, but it's just so delicious. I mean, I love the texture, the little pebbly flavor of like the pear you get. And yeah, the flavor is just incredible. And you too could own your own tree from the Greens and Things Urban Farm and Nursery. So next up, we're gonna go ahead and interview Eric the farmer to find out why he grows food here in the middle of St. Petersburg on other people's land. All right, guys, so now the pleasure of interviewing Eric, the farmer, owner, operator, basically the man that runs the show here. I mean, he makes everything happen. So Eric, how many workers do you have that help you with this farm?
Full-time, you're looking at him.
One. So you literally, one man runs the 3 different properties. You guys saw 2 of them, sets up the farm booth that you guys just saw, does the CSAs, and does everything.
That's correct.
And starts all the plant starts and everything.
Every bit. We start almost everything from seed except some of the fruit trees, but everything's done right here on site, grown within a couple miles and sold just as close.
So, Eric, I know you're not doing this for the money, because I know this is an incredible amount of work. I mean, I see the work that you've done. I also see the work that you haven't done because you don't have help. What keeps you motivated to keep growing this farm literally in the middle of St. Petersburg, where people in this area don't really appreciate local food like, you know, some people from other areas of the country?
Yeah, so when what kind of motivated me to get started, I've grown up in the area my whole life, and there's not really any food production anymore. There's no meaningful growing of vegetables or fruit anymore. We used to have some citrus in the area, but that's kind of all gone away towards going towards more development. And so I thought it was really important for people to know where their food comes from, and I realized that I couldn't find that in the area. So I created it. I didn't own any land, so I had to find properties around town with owners that shared my vision or thought what I was doing was important or exciting, something special. And I was lucky enough to link up with some folks that gave me access to their land, and we've just kind of been able to do the best we can with what we've got here in the middle of the city.
And then how long have you been growing your farm here, like on other people's land?
This is 9 seasons now, so 9 years of growing on land that we don't own, spread out throughout the city here, and yeah, this is 9 seasons.
Wow, and so if somebody's watching this, they want to be like you one day, right? Because they idolize you. We shouldn't idolize movie stars and rock singers or whoever singers, because yeah, it's great that they can make good movies or sing, but we really need to idolize farmers like Eric that's working hard, right? Barely making any money, keeping us alive, right? To grow food for people that's actually going to enrich people's lives and make a more sustainable planet. And so what tips would you give somebody that's like looking up to you as like, whoa, man, this guy's cool. I want to do what he's doing. how do I start? What do I do? What would you tell them?
I gotta be pretty careful because this is a lot of hard work, right? It's a lot of labor. It's gotta be, your reason has to be greater than the why or the how or the money that you're gonna make. Like you need to have a drive, a passion, a reason that's bigger than what other people are gonna understand. There's a lot of easier ways to make money. And like John said, that's not really what motivates me. I want people to have access to locally grown food. I want people to be able to see it with their own eyes, be able to come out here, see it, be part of it, touch it, feel it, volunteer, get your hands dirty, see the whole process from seed to, table to sale. I control all of that. I was motivated because I didn't trust what I saw at the grocery store and what was available locally. So I'm in control. I grow food that I want to eat. I grow food for myself and my members that trust me. And I grow food for my community, for whoever thinks it's important to know where their food came from, that wants to have a bit of a connection in a place, in a city that is mostly driven by convenience.
I mean, basically the world is, well, especially the US is getting driven by convenience because everybody has a grocery store or even a fast food joint. I mean, you go to the grocery store, there might be a few lines, but if you go to the fast food place, there's like cars down the way because nobody wants to like grow their own food, prepare it at home fresh, right? So it's really amazing that you've been staying motivated. So, you told me the story about you pushing wheelbarrow loads of mulch from the property we just saw a little while ago in the episode. And like, there's times where you just like, did you want to do it? Did you not want to do it? What kept you going to basically dump that next load of mulch when you got stacks that are just like probably as big as a skyscraper, like literally dumping mulch and mulch and mulch all day for days on end?
Yeah, it's several hundred yards worth of mulch and soil to get everything started. There's just not open space and open land available, so we kind of had to create what we needed to grow veggies. And the actual physical labor that I've never done anything to that scale before. Unfortunately, the way things were set up, we couldn't really use heavy equipment. It got sealed. There's a liner down there, so everything had to be put in by hand, or we would risk, destroying the infrastructure that we created. So everything was literally by hand, and there's a lot of podcasts, a lot of music, a lot of motivational speakers in my ear, but ultimately the drive came from me. I thought it was important to have locally grown food. I wanted people to be able to see that. I wanted to have it right in the middle of the community. I have seen examples of other folks doing this in other cities, other states, and even other countries. Small scale, local, regional farming that's focused on feeding their immediate community, I think is the past, present, and future of agriculture. It's where we kind of came from and where I hope that things will ultimately maybe go back towards. Becoming more and more local. We should be eating things from here first, but there was nothing else like this in the city at the time. There was a hydroponic shipping container business that was just starting to pop up. They were kind of breaking ground at the time. There were some community gardens that were doing things, but those change hands every couple years. Up in Clearwater, there was another farm. They've got about 5 to 7 acres, but when I started, they were changing ownership, changing management. It wasn't at all what it is in the entity it happens to be right now. There's another farm over in Tampa, about 30 minutes away, that had been long-standing, had hundreds of members every year for about 30 years, and that kind of wound down. That business went away. So there wasn't even anywhere for me to go work on a farm. There wasn't a place to volunteer really, except for community gardens, but nothing at a production level that has sales, marketing, partnerships with other businesses, chefs, restaurants. Like, our food culture here was really kind of lacking. So I felt like it was important enough to see that project through and get it to fruition. Had I known at the time that that was literally just the beginning, and that like I didn't even have seeds in the ground, I thought the work was done. And like that started the next 9 years of my life doing this and trying to figure out how to grow food for people.
Wow. And I mean, to remind everybody, guys, he wears more than one hat. I mean, he's got his farmer hat on today, But while he's farming most of the time, he's also had to figure out the marketing. He has to figure out the social media, he has to figure out, you know, compliance and permits and licenses and all this other stuff, right? Accounting. So, you know, of all these different things that I mentioned, I know there's a lot more, right? Which one really surprised you the most, and did you really have to really focus on besides just growing good vegetables? Because you could have the best vegetables, but then if you don't sell them, then yeah, I mean you gotta make a living at least at this, right? You can't be going negative.
That's right. Yeah. So with all those things involved, I mean, I kind of knew I'd been an entrepreneur. I'd run other businesses before, so I had a little bit of an idea of what I was getting into on that standpoint, but it's all of that plus production. I've never been responsible for the production on top of all of that. So in addition to all those things that John just mentioned, I'm also still putting seeds in the ground and transplanting and pulling weeds. So I guess the management of a team and being able to make a full-time employment opportunity for somebody in a system that's very, very seasonal and having very finite resources or limitations like space, right? So I only have about a 1/4 acre total available to me. It's really hard to think about having a team of 2 or 3 or 5 people around and trying to support that year round, or even during the peak of the season when I'm really limited by what I can produce in that kind of square footage. At the end of the day though, sales is what keeps things going. You know, if I grow all this, it doesn't really matter if I can't, you know, sell what is produced and what's here on the table. So marketing, advertising, constant communication, in a week that might be 70 to 80 hours of labor of planting, clearing, hoeing, raking, composting, harvesting, washing, packing, getting all those
You're making
things,
me tired just
right?
listening to you, man.
And I didn't even get to, I didn't make posts yet. I didn't get to my emails. I didn't write a newsletter. I didn't do my taxes. I haven't finished or sent out those invoices. There is so much involved in every small business. This isn't just agriculture, but unique to what I'm doing now is definitely being also responsible for the production standpoint. And also just kind of trying to find your space in a city that doesn't make space for something like this. It's not something that's ingrained in the culture. We don't have a lot of small local farms here. You know, it's always been kind of tourism and development based for our little locale. So kind of just trying to find space in a big town with a small farm and a small business.
And so how have you created the space to be sustainable? Because you've been here 9 years, you know, in this space that is maybe not the most hospitable space for this. I mean, if you had a urban farm in Berkeley, California, right? I mean, you would probably just open up and sell out every week, right? Really easily, because everybody there wants local food and all these things. But I mean, here at Tampa, you know, it's not, and St. Pete, it's not like that.
Yeah, we don't have hundreds of years worth of, you know, agriculture history here. And I was talking about our family. We've got some family up in Boston area, and it's so much more normalized there. And you see these lines, you know, these small urban farms, and maybe these are 1/2 acre or 3 acres, or maybe some of these even have 10 to 12 acres worth of space. But every weekend, those people are packed in there. And it's part of the culture. It's kind of ingrained that they go shop at their local farm first and then hit the grocery store, or then get on their app and order online, have it delivered right to their house. So trying to create a food culture or create those partnerships with leaders in our community, agriculture leaders, chefs, restaurateurs, other entrepreneurs, producers, just trying to cultivate those relationships and make priorities where we lean on each other first, and then the next county or the next state or the next country if needed. It's exciting being part of it, but it's very lonely being, you know, one of less than this many farms, you know, within an hour of here.
Wow. Well, definitely my hat's off to you for making all this happen, because I know how much, I mean, I can see how much work it is. I mean, your place looks amazing. So talking more about, instead of just the, you know, the business aspect, let's talk about the growing practices.
Yeah.
So how do you grow everything here? And, you know, this lettuce here, that we're looking at. When was this lettuce harvested?
That lettuce was harvested about probably 22 hours ago. So it's 2 in the afternoon. This was done yesterday.
So it's super fresh.
Yeah, I mean, this all came from a lot that is maybe less than half a mile away from my farm. So everything, I'm not certified organic. There's multiple properties and I don't own any of them. So the affidavits and the risk involved in trying to get that certified and the price, having to have that certification on 3 different properties for somebody that has not even a full acre of production is a bit cost prohibitive. I grow food the way that I want that I want to eat it, you know, so I don't spray, you know, there's no pesticides. There's some herbicidal soap every once in a while when things get really out of hand, but that's also because I'm doing things a little bit more geared towards production. It's not monocropped, but I pack a lot of things in a small space, and y'all have aphids. If you're growing food in Florida in your own garden, you have the same pests that I do. We've got nematodes, we've got aphids, we've got disease and fungal pressure in the soil that never goes away. So doing crop rotations, growing tolerant crops, I'm always searching for new varieties that are tolerant to those things that I just listed. You know, I'm always looking for disease packages. I follow other farmers from different countries. A lot like John, I look towards like Southeast Asia, crops that grow well there that are tolerant to our high heat, humidity, and they've got the same tropical diseases and pests that we do here. So things that people grow for sustenance in those countries are likely things that are worth taking a look at and trying to cultivate here and do it for production. Usually the biggest hurdle there is trying to educate people on how and when and why to use it, as opposed to like, we've got spinach this week, but I get spinach here in St. Pete for maybe 6 or 8 weeks of the entire season. This was the first harvest this week, so super exciting, but you come here in a month, we're not even gonna have it anymore. But there's longevity spinach behind me growing out of a big banana planter. We've got Molokai, there's Malabar, there's substitutes, there's Swiss chard. Swiss chard we can grow all season. So it's kind of trying to figure out how to adapt things here in Florida. And even in my 9 years, this stuff has changed completely. I mean, every season is different, but this winter is by far the most mild that we've ever had. We had pretty gnarly freezes and frosts last season. So we're still learning everything here. There's not a lot of old farms to learn from in Florida. So if you're paying attention and following young, mixed like market vegetables in Florida, you got to understand, like, we're all just trying to figure it out. And the more that we can lean on each other and learn from that, the better that this whole agriculture scene will continue to be going forward.
All right, so one of the things I see here, Eric, at your farm stand is you have a lot of common crops, right? Most people go to the grocery store, they buy their lettuce and tomatoes every week. They buy this and that, they buy cabbage, they buy whatever. And people are programmed to buy the same 6 or 10 things every single week. And that's like, as a broader, you know, culture and people in America, we're really adverse to trying new vegetables and new crops. So the question I have, because you're growing like standard market vegetables that you could grow in New England in the summertime, not in the wintertime. But my question for you is, do you want to cater to people what they want, or do you want to educate them about what could actually be grown here and grown really well, like some of the perennial vegetables, you know, the bele, the chaya, the moringa, the longevity spinach. I saw you also had Okinawan spinach, the malohikia or the Egyptian spinach, the Malabar spinach, you know, water spinach, probably illegal to grow here in Florida, even though I saw seeds at the farmer's market this morning. So what are your thoughts on this?
A bit of both, right? So as like, if sales are supporting the business, then I have to think of what my consumers want. I can't just force myself on them and say, well, this is the best thing to grow here and you got to eat it. And that's that. It's a lot more flexible than that. I grow things that I like, but you kind of mentioned like trying to teach people, and I might be a good or the worst example, right? growing up, I didn't have a lot of access to this, and I'm probably one of the pickiest eaters that anybody's met. My mother laughs at this constantly. She's beside herself that this is what I've decided to do for a living. My Veggies as a child came out of a can, so I didn't eat this stuff, and if it was green, it was not at all for me. As I got older and learned more and became a little bit more open to trying things, that's when I kind of started growing stuff in my own yard, did raised beds. I liked to watch things grow. So even though it was growing stuff that I didn't eat, it was fun to watch that whole process happen, right? And be a little bit in control, or at least a participant, right? Like having that partnership with this growing thing that's producing an edible, nutritional thing that we need for our bodies. So I grow things that people want, but it's always trying to find things that grow best here. And as the business has kind of matured over the years or adapted, it goes from growing things that you know will grow at the market and maybe forcing things in your system a little bit to trying to figure out different things that will grow, or where I really focus is different shapes, different colors. Things you're gonna find at the grocery store, you find at the grocery store. If you want something different, you wanna try something unique, a new texture, shape, color, size, flavor.
Nutrition.
That's why we do most of this, right? Is the flavor, the freshness, the level of nutrition can't really be matched. So if that's what you're looking for, then that's where I'm coming in and kind of introducing new varieties. You know, like the turnips behind you have really grown on me. Hakurei turnips.
Oh, I love those.
Do not sleep on Hakurei turnips, people. They are super versatile. They're sweet. If you're eating those purple top turnips, forget them. Scrap that. I don't grow them anymore. There's nothing wrong with them. They're fine. But these are sweet. They're tender.
The greens are edible too.
Yeah, you use the whole thing. And so it's some of these things, like those turnips and kohlrabi, for example, a handful of seasons ago now, I've never really used or grown those crops. I grew them because they looked cool. It looked like something I wanted to try, and I got some inquiries from customers. I grew them out, but I didn't even know necessarily what to do with them at first until people, oh my gosh, I haven't seen kohlrabi since I, was a kid up in New England, or my German parents, we always had kohlrabi in the garden. That's where I learned how to, cook this stuff, use it. Where does it fit in a garden or the season? Like, I learned just as much from my customers as in a book or watching YouTube videos. But at the end of the day, that is where this got started. So it's definitely a mix of crops. You kind of have to focus on certain things that will make money. At the end of the day, this is what makes me money. My lettuces, baby greens, they're fast. They don't take up a lot of space. They tend to be high value. But on a super small farm, it's very important to sell all of my units instead of trying to chase volume. I need sell through, not like bulk wholesale volume. So for me, it's been really, really fun. I've impressed myself sometimes in the past where you look at the farm as a whole and it's got 10,000 square feet, total available to you. But I come out to the market in January or February and I've got 32 unique items or SKUs in that. Maybe that's a butter leaf, a romaine, and a bib head. But then there's also different colors within all of those too. But the diversity keeps me interested and motivated. But trying to find a balance between making money as a farmer or trying to make money as a small market gardener versus all the sexy things that you always want to eat, right? Like everybody wants broccoli, cauliflower, tomatoes, beans, spinach, onions, potatoes. That's what people go to the grocery store for. And apples, bananas, all the, oranges, things that are out of season from all over the world. But this, is kind of my bread and butter. And that's what, I can't ever, with my space, I can't get away from doing some of these more common commodity crops, things that people are used to growing.
Right on. So for a long time, you were just a farmer and actually grew vegetables to sell people, but now you've taken on a nursery. So how long ago did you take on the nursery, and then why did you decide to start selling the same vegetable starts that you actually plant in your farms to people, and even bring on and sell amazing fruit trees that'll grow amazing in this area?
Yeah, so super limited by space. That's what kind of constrained everything, at the beginning of the business. You guys have seen some shots in there. If you got some shots of all of those seed trays, that all used to be done in my backyard for the farm. And I had almost no use of my home and my yard for most of the farm season. So for 6 to 7 months of the year, it was just a nursery space. Well, at the markets, while I'm selling all these veggies, people want to grow their own. They want to know where it's from, so they come to me. We build that relationship, but ultimately, this is still money out of their pocket. It's an expense. So the conversation very quickly changes from, or it's a duality, right? Of thank you for doing all this work, but I also want to grow and provide. I have children, I want to show them. I used to grow things when I was growing up. I want to do it. I don't know how to grow here in Florida. It's a lot of education, and then where do you get it? So I was being asked for seeds and starts, and I just didn't have it. I didn't have the space, I couldn't do it. And unfortunately, there wasn't anywhere to really send people. There's very few local garden centers, and most of them are geared more towards ornamentals. You can get some fruit trees in the area. There's a really good old tropical tree nursery that almost everybody in town has gotten their old trees from, but that was one singular place, and you're kind of limited to whatever they've got, and there wasn't a ton, right? So I started the farm because there was no farms. I started the nursery because there was no real nurseries, but it was a natural expansion of the business because I was already doing this stuff year after year as I'm flipping through these seed catalogs, and I do the same thing. I get wrapped up with all the sexy pictures and the colors and the new varieties and try this and on sale, and you buy a bunch of stuff, but that doesn't mean it's going to work well here or in my context or for a commercial setting that might do really well for your home garden. But at the end of the day, it's been a lot of trial and error trying to figure this stuff out. So as I gained access a few years ago, this is the third farm season that we've had the nursery in conjunction, and people need and want the education. What varieties? Where do you get the seeds? When do you start them? I went out on Mother's Day and bought a bunch of tomato plants and put them in the ground. I didn't get any tomatoes. Well, that's when I'm harvesting my last tomatoes of the entire season. So it is no shock at all that that didn't go well for you. So I want to help, I want to teach people, but doing the farm and doing all the production has kind of tied my hands in what I've been able to do. So trying to make this location more of a home base, a retail setting, somewhere where we can do classes and clinics and bring people in and show them the whole process. Again, seed to sale, and even having a little bit of production space at this location is really cool too, because people can kind of make that translation of here's the seeds in the seed trays, here it is in the field. That's what I can do in my own garden. And at the end of the day, to be completely honest, if I can do this, if I can figure it out, so can you. And I'm sure that gets said by a lot of people. John's probably said it too. At the end of the day, you just got to get up and do it. But it was trying to provide or fill a need that, wasn't really being met here. Trying to provide education, but these varieties that I rely on to pay my bills, that I need the production out of, these are worth planting every year. So I feel pretty confident selling these and getting them into people's home gardens so that they'll have the same success. A lot of times they do better because they're not growing the same thing in the same space year after year, season after season like I am.
Wonderful. I think there's another opportunity for you, Eric, also, because you now have a nursery, is to plant things that's even easier than seasonal vegetables, is perennial vegetables that I'm big on. I have many videos on this. But if you just plant a few moringa trees around, or bailey trees, or other things like chaya trees, and offer those and have a few examples, and then you can say, here, plant this in your yard, then they'll probably curse you out because it'll grow big and they'll have to keep pruning it back, or katuk. right? And you just pick the leaves off it every single day of the year, right? And then educate people about that, because then that makes, now more people can be home gardeners, and yeah, they'll eat the stuff they grew, and then they can come to you to buy the lettuces that are harder to grow.
That's right. And a lot of these things become support species. So
right, exactly.
They partner and they kind of create symbiotic relationships. I mentioned, talking earlier, that I'm trying to do a lot better about keeping things that are pollinating, that are flowering, that are active in throughout the year, not just during veggie season. That helps me with all of my beneficial insects and the pollinators that I need for some of these fruits. In the past, it's been a lot easier to just focus on just the veggies just during veggie season, but that creates a very big peak and bell curve of income, operating income for the business. And we kind of have a long season, but the bulk of it is really just as short as anywhere else. We got 6 to 8 months maybe of good growing weather, and then it becomes, during the summer it's fruit season, but starting to rely a little bit more on some of those perennial things that do grow really well here in Florida. We're lucky enough to have 12 months of excellent growing weather with very few exceptions. It's trying to lean a little bit more into that and stabilize the business, stabilize the education. And if people are looking to sustain their family for the entire year, then lettuce is only going to work for 6 or 7 months of the year. 6 or 7.
6 or 7. No.
But the rest of that, you can pick all the time, and they don't have to take up your garden space. They can be put in borders on the perimeter. You can use some of those trees like moringa for shade on some of these other species that might benefit from it. When I do installations or new fruit trees, I like putting quick or edible things under them. So I usually encourage pineapples, because I kind of joke and say that that's like a little bit of armor for young fruit trees, right? Something's got to get through those spikes to get up into a tree. But herbs and veggies like lettuces at the base of a young mango tree, that mango tree is not really going to give you much for 2 or 3 seasons, maybe nothing meaningful. But while that canopy continues to grow and fill out, you have usable space that you already dug up. You've got a nice tree ring probably. Use that space, fill that in. I personally am trying to do a lot better with that. But John's right. It's a really good excuse now, having the nursery and having stuff that's always growing as an outlet to kind of teach people how to fill the yards with edibles. And
then have classes on these edibles, because you want to have classes.
That's right. We've done some in the past. We get really, really busy during farm season and nursery
season.
This
is off season. It's summer.
Right. So summertime, we can definitely be looking at some classes. And that goes for grafting and trimming and pruning, and there's a million things, right? You guys got to tell us what you're interested in, but there's always things to learn in gardening and farming.
Wonderful. So the question for you, Eric, because I know when you wanted to learn how to do this, right, you couldn't find any local farms to teach you. You were actually going to go to Canada before they rejected you. That's a whole nother story. But if somebody lives locally here in the area and they want to literally intern or volunteer on the farm, do you take people to come in and you could teach them how to do this while they're actually helping you out at the same time?
Yes. In fact, I'm looking for help again this season. Cultivators, really. This is kind of unique. There's a few other small farms in the area now, and one of our local colleges, Eckerd College, down on the south side of St. Pete, that's a liberal arts school, but they've got a farm program. They've got a urban ag program that is actually using a lot of the same systems. So the same size rows, small plots, uniform, doing blocks of veggies for production. So hopefully, as those programs in the area continue to grow and mature, I'll have a bit of a farm team or a farm system in place. But that's kind of the goal going forward with the business here. Is I've always wanted, I felt like if I built this, not only will they come, but also I want to inspire other people to do this. It's a huge hurdle. There's a lot of risk involved. There was a lot holding me personally back of just not knowing how to do this stuff, imposter syndrome, trying to figure things out, and then just not having, there's no literature, right? If you want to flip through a book or read an article online about growing a diverse market farm garden in Florida to sell at markets is not like a thing. That is like new in the last 10, 20, maybe 30 years in a couple like very key locations of the state. But I felt like if I could figure out how to do this without owning land, in the most densely populated county in the state,
wow,
one of the most densely populated counties in the entire country, then if this is viable here, then it should be viable anywhere in this country. So I would hope that I can inspire other people to do this. It's very likely that your community, your city, your small town, big town doesn't have a local farmer. If there were more of me, like there should be a dozen of me around town.
Yep.
That would be so much more fun for me and a lot less lonely.
Because you want to make the pie bigger, not just capture more of the pie, right? We want more people to eat local, fresh food, wake more people up by eating real food instead of all this processed garbage.
It's trying to share the market rather than take market share.
Yep.
And the more money that we can keep in our community that goes towards produce, it's a $1 billion industry in the Tampa Bay area as a whole, our 3 counties that neighbor us. And at the end of the day, if I'm lucky, I capture 50K of that. Right? So like that's not even a drop in the bucket. That leaves opportunity for, I don't know, do that math, 2,000 more of me before we can make up the production gap in what people are buying and consuming here versus what is actually being produced. But at the end of the day, people need to know that this is happening here. And to circle all the way back to your question, yes, help, education, teaching people how to do these. I don't have these grandiose ideas that what I'm doing is going to feed the world. But if I can multiply what I'm doing, then that can.
Yeah.
And when I got started, some of the farmers that come to our local farmers markets, can I come by? I'd like to see it. I would love to see it at a bigger scale. I have a 1/4 acre total. I'm doing this on 5,000 square feet here, 3,000 there, 5,000 there. I'd love to see it like done on a 1/2 acre or a full acre. Or what's a 5 acre field of, you know, these vegetables look like? What's a wash and pack look like? What is your harvest system, and like where do you store all this? Like there's so many things that I didn't know. And it's a lot of gatekeeping that wasn't available to me. So I was literally told, you're more than welcome to pay for our class. You can buy my book. You can do a paid internship in that you can come to us and pay us for the education. Wow. And that really didn't sit right. So I do have a bit of a chip on my shoulder about it. It was very much like I wanted to see this happen, so I had to figure it out. But I want the next person to not have to go through that. I want the next person to have a great relationship with their local farmers market, with their farmers market managers. I want people to learn these systems and be able to go create their own. If somebody learned how to do this from me and then went, you know, across town or to Seminole or Largo, like the next town over, or right here, like I can't feed everybody that wants food. So if somebody can learn what I'm doing and then take that and then create a new business and duplicate, or honestly, hopefully do it better than what I'm doing. I don't have education. I didn't go to school for this and nobody taught me. I'm figuring it all out because of necessity. So at the end of the day, if I can make this easier for somebody to do after me, then whether or not I'm making money, I mean, I just want to see more local production. You know, I want people to be able to have a relationship with the person growing food. I want that support. I want to see that money stay in the local community. You know, I don't want to support big corporations in foreign countries that are, you know, playing politics. You know, so I grow food right here in sunny St. Pete on a small scale and sell to people that live, you know, within a couple miles of here.
That's awesome, man. So the next question after you, Eric, we're wrapping up here, is, you know, where do you see yourself in 2 years? Like, what's your goal? Where are you going towards? Like, what do you want to end up doing? Do you see doing this for forever, or what's your plan there?
So
with the farm? Where do you want to take it?
Basically, since the beginning, I have had conversations with my customers at markets, right? The addition of the nursery has really helped kind of move things along. But I always joked, like, I'm not going to be this 70 or 80-year-old man pulling French breakfast radishes out of somebody's front yard in St. Pete. Like, that doesn't, I don't see myself doing that. I don't see anybody really doing that. My business is the way it is out of necessity right now, with the hopes and goals that maybe that can consolidate and become a bigger operation in a, you know, singular space. But ultimately, going forward, that type of business in that setting does not seem super scalable. Like, it is always going to be restricted. So I was forced to pivot about a year ago. One of our locations kind of changed directions. The owner, you know, things change. We were there for 9 years. You know, wow. Nothing lasts forever. So that in itself, being there in that same spot for that long, was incredible. So nothing bad to say about that, other than I lose 30 or 40% of my farm business. That has greatly constricted what I can grow, how much of it I can grow, and I guess how diverse of a crop, you know, selection I can have. Going forward, though, the nursery is something that can grow and be scaled. The education, teaching people how to grow their own stuff like John does, is something that, you know, if I reach 100 or 200 customers each week by growing this, that can be scaled 10x or 100x by sharing that education and getting this stuff out there and teaching people how to do it themselves. And ultimately, growing fruit honestly seems like a little bit more fun and a lot more, it's a slower game, right? Yeah. Veggies are very fast, labor intensive. It's a quick thing. You have to be on top of it. You're always cultivating, weeding, harvesting, processing, washing, planting. You plant a mango tree.
You're mostly waiting until the summer, then you're busy as heck, and then most of the other year you might have to do a little tending, but you're just hanging out.
I can see myself as a 70 or 80-year-old man driving up and down my rows of mango and avocado trees in my golf cart. I cannot see myself bent over,
busting your butt.
Yeah, like it's a hard way to make money, but at the end of the day, people have to do it, and it is important. But I do see myself pursuing some of the leads that I have for larger properties outside of the city, for bigger production, or making best use of what I have here, inviting people into the location that is still pretty new to us here, but using this as a place to do classes, make it a hangout spot, make it that garden center, a resource for our community where if people need soil for their raised beds, I've got it. Fertilizer, when we need it, I've got it. Starts, seeds maybe. We've got some great companies in town here that do seeds and do a lot of education and subscriptions and constant education. But there's always room for more. And having the production alongside of it really helps with that education standpoint. But I think going forward, if this is going to continue in the city the way it is, will definitely be more of a nursery education type business. I hope I don't have to ever get rid of the veggies because I love it and I need to eat food too. But yeah, you never know, you know? So every year I tell people this could very well be the last season, and it could. Not owning any of these properties, that rug could get pulled at any point. So we've got to enjoy it, take advantage of it while we do have it, and invest in the people that are doing it. You know, I'm a little bit biased, but you know, an extra $100 or $200 each week makes a huge difference for a small business like me. And it means that I can continue to do this, that I don't have to stop doing this, walk away from what may or may not be a hobby. And I get to keep growing food for people because it's something I love to do, not because it's something I have to do or, you know, become bitter about because, you know, running a small business is hard.
That's funny. So what final words of wisdom, Eric, do you want to give people out there that are, you know, looking to becoming a market gardener like you have? Like, what would you tell them? If you like look back at yourself 9 years ago before you started? Like, what words of wisdom would you give your young self before you started all this?
Don't quit. Just keep planting, keep showing up to those markets. When it's raining, show up. When it's sunny, show up. When it's hot, show up. When you don't have a lot of stuff, just a few weeks ago, I had a third of this or a quarter of this. Keep showing up. Do what you're doing. Keep talking about it. I get tired, I get worn out, but just keep telling your story. Keep telling your mission. Find good partners. Not everybody that has a local business, just because they have a local business doesn't make them good people, doesn't mean that they share the same vision. Find good partners and stick with them. Build those relationships so that you have a safety net, that when things do change, if the markets fall apart or go away or management changes, that you have a base. If you can do something on site, that's what I'm kind of leaning towards. I'm not relying on the markets quite as much. It's too volatile and I don't have the control there that I would like. So doing things on your own farm, if possible. Find good farmers markets, find market managers that want you there, that want to highlight local food production, but make sure that they work for you, with you. Just keep planting, like figure your systems out. Good soil takes time. Like it's not gonna be something that happens right away. So you've gotta get a few years under your belt of just banging your head against the wall, just learning, failing. Every business I think is the same, but you have got to have thick skin and be used to failing. Like I fail more every single season than I'm successful, and that's hopefully probably always going to be true, and that means I'm learning.
Yep.
You know, so never get set in your ways, never close things off, to like always be open, available, and learning from people that are doing this, you know, around you. In other parts of the country, Vegas is kind of similar. I mean, I didn't realize that a lot of the year we have similar climate, but he's growing perennial stuff that, you know, most people don't know anything about, because Florida, South Florida is the only place that stuff grows. So try new things, just keep showing up.
Awesome. Excellent words of wisdom. And if you guys don't have to go to school of hard knocks, right, like Eric did and is still going through every single day on the farm, learning and growing, you actually consult with people that want to do this, and you can consult with them to, you know, give them a download so that they don't have to do all the hard work.
Yeah, absolutely.
They can find out what works direct for the man.
Yep. We're trying to make things more, resources more available. So everything you need to get your garden going. And now I've done this long enough, especially with these nursery starts, I'm super confident if you're putting a new raised bed in, you're getting potting mix, fertilizer, and starts from me, you are 100% going to get produce and veggies out of that, as long as you water it. Like that's
and you
the
follow his
only
directions.
missing thing.
Follow his directions.
But that's it. Like it's teaching people. It's going to be more of that education and consulting. Absolutely. I mean, I can only talk to so many people at the markets, at my own location, but getting to people's houses, seeing their own, like everybody's got their own context, right? So some people have shade, some people have all sun, some people are doing raised beds, in ground, some people have fruit forests. How can we integrate vegetables into that system? Or how can we go from a raised veggie garden bed into a perennial fruit forest, or like full production that every month, every week of the year, you can walk out your front door and eat something out of your yard. So 100% that is happening, mostly during the summertime, the off season when I'm not full on with the farm, but those services are being requested more often. So, you know, at the end of the day, I got to go where people are, you know, want help and what they want to learn. And COVID changed everything fundamentally, and that is really what sparked, I think, a lot of people's interest in growing their own. It was the best thing for the farm, and then it almost immediately the worst thing that happened for the farm because of convenience. Like when the grocery stores were empty, everybody had an oh shit moment. What do we do? Where does my food come from? Oh, I know a farmer. They remembered me all of a sudden. But as soon as those grocery stores opened back up, those people weren't coming out to the farm anymore because they could get it at the grocery store. But look at the prices, look at the availability. every year, every season, that stuff changes. And my overhead, my labor, my production doesn't change as much because my systems are a lot more resilient, being small and local. So my fluctuations are not as big. It's not a world or a global market. So now my prices are better. So people are coming back a little bit, and they want more control. It's exactly what kind of got me fired up to start the business was what's in our food?
Yeah.
What is on this? And why is our USDA certified organic lettuce being recalled for E. coli? What are you spraying on that stuff? And then feeding it to us. Right. So like, if you can't trust that certification from a farm on the other side of the country or wherever, if you don't have eyes on it and you don't know the person growing your food, it's hard to trust that. And I understand that. I am that guy, right? I'm the one at the market that is saying like, I don't spray pesticides, I don't use herbicides, I use all organic inputs, and I make my own compost. But at the end of the day, you're still taking my word for it, right?
But they can come and visit you. I mean, I visit you.
Yes.
This guy's legit.
Here,
I mean, I see he does compost, he does organic fertilizer,
right.
You know?
So I can show you that, but at the end of the day, people want control, you know, and they want education too. People with kids want to show them. My vegetables came out of cans. Like, I didn't have a raised bed. My dad grew roses, so that was always fun to watch grow. And one year I had a birthday party where we had a watermelon seed spitting contest, and then the whole yard turned into a watermelon patch. But that was like the extent of, we had citrus. We had a beautiful Hamlin orange tree that we juiced every year, but that was kind of it, you know, and I ate fruit. That wasn't a problem. It was eating the veggies, but it's just connecting people to their food. You know, it's something that we all do, you know. If we're all doing it right, it's 3 times a day, but everybody has to eat. And at the end of the day, what are you eating? What are you putting into your body? Where does it come from? And what are you supporting when you buy that stuff from the grocery store?
Yeah.
You vote with that money. So when your money comes to me, I'm likely just paying bills and rent to my local landlord, and maybe I get to go eat at some of the restaurants that I might sell to, or it's staying in this community, right? When you shop at Publix or Kroger's or
it's making
Safeway,
CEOs rich.
It is, and it's leaving your community. It is extracting that
resource,
that economic resource from your community, and it's putting it somewhere else. And even growing a small little raised bed in your yard, at the end of the day, can be 2 middle fingers up at the man, the system that's been put in place that we're all forced to participate in.
That controls us.
Yeah, and it doesn't really benefit us at all. You know, it benefits somebody, but it's not always us. You know, we're consumers. We're the bottom rung.
Well, I mean, one of the things I learned from another Florida farmer many years ago in Homestead, he's like, John, the more you can produce, the less you need to consume. And if you're consuming less, I mean, somebody in somewhere else in the world, whether it's local or probably far away, needs to, you know, make less. And so like you said earlier, you know, you want people to eat out of the farm first, then the grocery store. I would say, I want you guys to grow your own food first, eat out of your yard first, come to farmers to fill in, to grow some of the things that are maybe harder for you to grow. I mean, I go to my local farmers markets in Vegas during the season, and I'm eating what they're growing because I don't grow that because I let them grow it. I'll grow stuff that they don't grow that grows even easier.
Yep.
And then I fill in, you know, buying the best organic produce I can, and then you know tropical fruits and non-organic fruits that aren't available organic, so that I don't have to like sacrifice my diet. And I think this is a very, very important, you know, philosophy to live by. So I always encourage you guys to do that, and that's why to this date, all my gardening videos and all my education I give on gardening is all for free on YouTube for you guys. Over 1,700 videos now. So Erica, rounding out this episode here, how can somebody get a hold of you to do some consulting or learn about your farm, to buy some of the amazing produce, find out when you're showing up and what you're doing? What are all your websites and social media and phone number if you want to provide that?
So we'll put a tag here, like, subscribe, smash the button. Instagram is where I'm most active. So it's at Greens and Things Urban Farm. It's the letter N. So there's another Greens and Things out there, and I think there's one out in New Mexico or something. But Greens and Things Urban Farm. I'm in St. Pete, Florida. I've got a website, greensandthingsurbanfarm.com. Maybe something else to think about for you aspiring farmers. Pick a shorter name that's easy to spell for your email and contact information. But Greens and Things Urban Farm. All my contact information's on the website. We'll be updating that with events and dates for the spring season here now that's the new year. And Instagram is honestly the best and easiest. While I'm out working, I'll do little clips, videos, updates. That usually gets pushed to Facebook, but for me while I'm out working, that's the easiest method of staying in touch and showing people what's going on with the farm.
All right, great, Eric. Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. I'm glad you're open today and I got to stop by and see your amazing setup and what he's got going on here. Definitely, if you're in St. Pete, you want to contact him for your fresh veggies as well as his CSA, and even now the plant starts, whether it's the veggie starts or the fruit juice. Definitely, this place is legit. He's an awesome guy. I spent a whole bunch of time with him even before I even filmed the video here. So yeah, put his links down below, Instagram, website. And if you guys enjoyed this episode here at Greens and Things, sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Also be sure to share this video with other people, especially if they live here in the Clearwater, St. Pete area, so they could learn about one amazing organic farm, not certified of course, that's been going on for 9 seasons now, which is amazing that he just keeps hammering away at this to hammer away and create a larger local food system here in an area that's not, you know, super hospitable, I would say, to him. Also be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss my new and upcoming episodes. I've come out every 5 to 7 days. You never know where I'll show up, what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel. Make sure you click the little bell so you get notified as the videos come out. And finally, be sure to check out past episodes. Past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. Over 17 episodes at this time on the channel dedicated to you guys how to grow your own food at home. So with that, my name is John Kohler with growingyourgreens.com. We'll see you next time. And until then, remember, keep on growing.